In the quiet heart of Singapore, a tragedy unfolded that has shaken the community of Yishun to its core. On the morning of the 27th of July, a 35-year-old man was found dead in his flat on the 10th floor of Block 803 Yishun Ring Road. The news of this incident quickly spread, and the shock was compounded when it was revealed that a 49-year-old man had been arrested on suspicion of murder. The suspect, who was apprehended at the scene, will be charged in court, but the story behind this tragedy is far more complex and troubling than a simple criminal case. Residents who knew the deceased have begun to piece together a narrative that suggests a long history of abuse and manipulation, a narrative that sheds light on the darker aspects of human relationships. The deceased, described by neighbors as a kind-hearted, polite, and intellectually disabled man, had lived in the Yishun flat for years. He was known for his friendly demeanor, often greeting neighbors with a smile as they shared the lift or crossed paths in the estate. Yet, behind this outward kindness lay a story of vulnerability and exploitation. The deceased had lived with his parents in the same flat until their passing, his father first, followed by his mother about 10 years ago. After his mother's death, his life took a turn for the worse. According to longtime residents, this was when the bullying began. A middle-aged woman, referred to by the community as an auntie, moved in with him, claiming to take care of him. However, this relationship soon raised suspicions among the neighbors. The auntie was not a relative of the deceased, a fact that became evident to those who knew him. One neighbor, who had assisted the deceased with paperwork related to his flat, recounted how the auntie had approached her under the pretense of helping the deceased. This neighbor, who had known the deceased and his family for years, became wary when the auntie began to distance herself after securing her position in the flat. The suspicion grew when the auntie invited a man to move in, allegedly to help take care of the deceased. This man, the 49-year-old suspect now facing murder charges, was either the brother or the boyfriend of the auntie, depending on varying accounts from different sources. Regardless of their exact relationship, it was clear that the dynamics within the flat had become toxic. Neighbors reported that the deceased was subjected to ongoing mistreatment by both the auntie and the suspect, who allegedly bullied and manipulated him, exploiting his vulnerability after the loss of his parents. The events leading up to the fateful morning of the 27th of July remain under investigation, but the immediate aftermath paints a grim picture. A resident living on the 9th floor of the block reported hearing a commotion in the flat above, where the deceased and the suspect were arguing in the kitchen. As the argument escalated, the residents' concern grew. When the noise reached an alarming level, the resident went upstairs to check and was met with a horrifying scene, the deceased lying motionless outside his flat, with bloodstains on the wall. Emergency services were quickly called, and the police arrived at the scene around 8:35 a.m. Despite the efforts of paramedics, the man was pronounced dead at the scene. The area was cordoned off, and investigators worked late into the night, gathering evidence and trying to piece together the sequence of events that led to this tragic loss of life. As the investigation continues, the community of Yishun is left grappling with the shock and sorrow of losing a gentle soul who, despite his challenges, had touched the lives of many around him. The news of his death, particularly under such violent circumstances, has left neighbors and friends deeply saddened and reflective about the fragility of life and the often unseen struggles that some face in silence. At 22:30, we encourage you to reflect on this tragedy and share your thoughts. Have you ever encountered similar situations in your community where the vulnerable are taken advantage of? What can we as a society do to protect those who cannot protect themselves? Please leave your comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth news coverage.